Hello everybody, my name is Lori. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making peanut butter cookies, but they're not your standard average peanut butter cookies. These are kind of a light, crispy peanut butter cookie with chocolate chips in them and chopped peanuts, and they taste almost like a butter cookie. They're my own recipe that I took from a traditional recipe. This is going to be a video channel that's going to help beginning cooks. So we're going to show you how to measure things and how to do things and how not to do things. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is properly measure out the flour, and I'm going to show you how to do that. This recipe calls for 2½ cups of flour. So you always want to hold your dry measure, this is a dry measure cup, and scoop it into your dry measure rather than taking your cup and scooping it into the container, because that packs the flour and changes your measurement. So this calls for 2½ cups. We're going to level it off. There's one. I hope I have 2½ cups in here. We're going to find out. There's our, looking on their second one. I'm going to mount it up, see that? But I'm not packing it, and then scrape it off. Okay. And then this is our ½ cup measure. And it looks like I had just enough. And we're gonna, there you go, 2½ cups of flour. And it calls for 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Now, those of you watching this is not a baking soda container, but I used it as a baking soda container because it seals better than the baking soda boxes. So I'm going to use 1 teaspoon. Okay, I'm just going to level it off. My hands are clean. I always wash my hands before I start cooking, and you should too. That's a good habit to get into. Okay, so we're going to use this because the reason why is sometimes baking soda has clumps in it, and if you just put it in your flour, you could end up with a clump in one of your cookies. And I've had a bite of a cake that had that in it, and it's not pleasant, let me tell you. So you always want to sift it in. See, get all the lumps out. And then this calls for ½ a teaspoon. Let me make sure this is a ½ teaspoon. Yes, it is. Of baking powder. Baking powder is not as likely to lump as baking soda is, but I still go ahead. I got the sift out anyway. Okay. Now, it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of salt, but I'm using salted butter, so I'm not going to measure it out. I'm just going to throw a little bit of extra, and not very much, because it's going to have salt in the butter. Now, I got all my dry ingredients mixed up, so now I'm going to use my whisk. And whisk that together really well. And this is your dry ingredients. And I'm a little paranoid, so I do it with a spoon too. That's just me. Ever since that one experience I had with biting into a clump of baking soda, I'm a little overcautious with it. So now I know it's really well mixed, both with a whisk and with a spoon. And we're gonna go over the other ingredients that we're going to put in our peanut butter cookies. Okay, so here we have two large eggs, 1 cup of chopped roasted peanuts. Now, I just use a store brand, and these are unsalted. You can use salted if you want a little sweet and salty thing going on. And these are dry roasted. And the reason why I do this rather than use just crunchy peanut butter is because it gives it a little different twist because of they're pre-roasted. And these are dry roasted, so that gives them a little, and you can chop them however coarsely or finely you like. I like mine kind of medium. This isn't very finely chopped. Now this is what makes this recipe different from what you've probably had maybe from other recipes. There's no brown sugar in this recipe. There's only granulated white sugar, and you're going to use 1½ cups of granulated white sugar, and that's the reason why this cookie is crispy and light rather than chewy and dense. And it is different, it's a little different. We're gonna use 1 cup of creamy peanut butter, and the brand I use is Peter Pan You don't want to use all natural peanut butter because all natural peanut butter is runnier and it won't have the consistency that it's needed for the cookie. We're going to need extra sugar in the side for rolling. We're going to shape these into balls and roll them in sugar. And we're adding 1 cup, we're going to start with 1 cup of, these are dark chocolate chips. I believe they're Ghirardelli, which is what I like in mine. We may add more if I feel like I need it, but we're going to start with 1 cup. Okay, so we have our dry ingredients ready, and now what we need to do is we need to begin, oh, my big mistake, you're gonna catch this one. Softened butter. Okay, now this is not how you do this. Normally I take 2 sticks. You want 2 sticks of either salted or unsalted. I'm using salted, it really doesn't matter. Just plain whole butter. And usually what I do is I slice it into tablespoon sections and I set it aside and let it soften. And usually you can still see they're sliced. But what happened was is we got busy doing other things and we put this out in the Florida room and it was too warm. And so it's a little, as you can see, soggy. But because this is a cookie recipe and not a cake recipe, I'm pretty sure it'll be okay. If it was a cake recipe, we'd have to start over again because you don't want it this melted for a cake recipe. So I'm going to use my spatula and my stand mixer here. And we're going to start by sliding. This is how you don't do this. They're still kind of solid. You can see that. And I put it on this glass dish so it'll be easy to slide off with the spatula into the... See, even seasoned cooks still make goofy mistakes, but I think it'll be okay in this instance. So because I lost a little butter, yes, there is a little teeny puddle of butter out on the cabinet in the Florida room. I'm going to add a little bit. Just get a spoon. A knife rather, and we're just going to add a little bit for what was lost in the melting process. So now we got our butter in there, and we're going to add our peanut butter. It's kind of gluey, but it's got some body to it. Wipe off my goofy hand. Now we're gonna go ahead and cream this. On low. Okay, so now we have the peanut butter and the butter creamed together. We're going to gradually add in our sugar. I always like to scrape it off the spatula because it tends to want to stick. want to do is add in the eggs. And a good habit to get into is to crack your eggs individually into a bowl before you add it. And the reason why is you could have an egg that maybe isn't good. And that happened to me actually once, and I was really glad I cracked it into a bowl first. So crack it into the bowl, and I am not a gourmet cook, so I use 2 hands to crack an egg. Okay, we're going to mix that in. While that's beating, I'm going to crack the second egg. Okay, so now we have our peanut butter, we've got our butter mixed in here, we've got our eggs and our sugar. So we're gonna start adding the flour. Okay, now my mixer is not really good about getting everything thoroughly mixed in the middle. I don't know why this mixer is like that, but it makes me a little paranoid, so I'm gonna just get the excess off of here first. Okay, and now unlock this. Just to be safe, I'm gonna mix it. See, there's still a little bit of flour in there in the middle. I don't know why my mixer does that, but it does. And I wanna make sure this is all really well mixed. So I'm gonna mix it by hand. Okay, it's stiff like it's supposed to be, cookie dough. So I don't think the extra softened butter got hurt by a single thing. See, but now if this was a cake, it'd be a different story. Cakes, the butter has to be not a puddle, that's for sure. Okay, that's pretty well mixed. So now I'm gonna stir in the peanuts. And I'm going to stir in the chocolate chips. And I may add more chocolate chips because we like ours really chunky. That's up to you. You can use any kind of chocolate chips you like. These are dark chocolate. You can use milk chocolate. You can use a store-bought brand if that's what you prefer. We're using Ghirardelli milk chocolate, as I mentioned earlier. I don't know, John, do we need more chocolate chips?
You said milk, it's dark chocolate actually.
Okay.
And I don't care really.
You sure?
There's some, is enough for me.
Okay. We're gonna add a little bit more. I like a lot of chocolate chips. And I have plenty, so. These are really decadent cookies. They're great for parties.
They won't last long at parties. Just
No,
a
I
warning.
took a tray of these to a party. It was Super Bowl. And they went quick. And everybody's like, wow, these are the best peanut butter cookies I ever ate. And the secret is to use all white sugar and no brown sugar. Now, if you like your cookie chewy, that's different. If you're looking for something crispy, crunchy, this is a really nice cookie recipe. Okay, I think that's pretty well mixed. We don't have all the chocolate chips stuck to the bottom, which sometimes happens if you don't mix it well. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is preheat our oven. Now's a good time. My oven gets hot very fast. Now, if you've got a slow heating oven, you may have to start preheating your oven before you even start mixing, but mine gets hot fast. And we're gonna set it at 365 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, while that's heating, get our cookie sheet. You do not have to grease the cookie sheet because these have a lot of butter and peanut butter and they're greasy enough they won't stick to the pan.
Primarily, they're just butter.
Yeah, there's a lot of butter in here. Now, if you don't want a big cleanup, you could put parchment paper on there. That just makes cleanup easier. I'm fine with scrubbing a cookie sheet, so I'm just gonna put it right on the cookie sheet. So what we're gonna do is, now if you want them all a certain size, you can use a cookie scoop, but I'm just gonna roll them in my hands. See, this is why I wash my hands before I start cooking. Aren't you glad? We're gonna put a little more dough in there. I get them usually about the size, not as big as a golf ball, just a little bit smaller than a golf ball. And they're pretty uniform for the most part. You wanna roll them nice and round, and then roll them in the granulated sugar. You can do a whole plate full first, and then we'll put them on the cookie sheet if you want. You want to try to get them as uniform as you can because you want them to cook evenly. And if you got real little ones and real big ones, well, then they're not going to cook evenly.
Yeah, that's what happens when I do it.
Yeah, yours end up as big as pie plates. Okay. So like I said, if you want complete uniformity, you can use a cookie scoop. I guess there are such things, or small ice cream scoop. Although the ice cream scoops I've seen, or a melon baller, that might even work if you want them really small. If you're taking a bunch to a big party, or you just want to give people samples. Okay. And don't ask me how many of these make, because I forgot. I think they make about 4 dozen or more pretty good sized cookies.
Cut it?
No, let me finish this. See, that one's a little too big.
I'm just gonna cut it.
Okay. Okay, folks, our cookies are now out of the oven. I have them on a cooling rack. I have a little piece of wax paper underneath to keep any crumbs from getting everywhere. When they first come out, you want to take them off the cookie sheet fairly quick, otherwise they tend to stick a little bit. So I take them off, and when they first come out, they're going to feel a little soft. But after about 5 minutes, they start to harden and get that slightly crunchy look. You want them nice and well browned on the bottom, as you can see, so that they're fully cooked. These actually took 22 minutes. So ovens vary and times vary. They're not a fast cooking cookie. They take a little bit of time to cook. A little bit about storage and a few other things I want to mention. You can make your dough the day before, cover it tightly, or put it in a sealed container and keep it in your refrigerator. And then the next day you can bake them. If you'd like to do that, just let them sit on the counter for about 15 to 20 minutes so they soften up a little bit, not too hard to work with. These freeze extremely well. In fact, they're actually good frozen, and I've thought about putting ice cream between two of them. I might do that. You can also drizzle like a chocolate icing on them. I've done that too. If you have a little chocolate icing recipe you like that you can just drizzle, that makes it's great for parties. This particular batch for this size of cookie, which you can see it's a pretty good size cookie, made 44 cookies, so it's a little over 3 dozen, just shy of 4 dozen. So if you want to freeze them in the freezer, I would use a Tupperware container, one that seals tightly, and I line it with wax paper and then fold it over and just kind of wrap it with the wax paper. That kind of helps a little bit, and then make sure it's sealed real tight, and they'll keep for weeks in the freezer. I don't know, they never last very long, so maybe a year, I don't know. They never last that long. So they're a great cookie for parties. You can do variations on them. You know, if you want to do white chocolate chips, or, I mean, I haven't tried that, but experiment. You know, it might be fun. Maybe you don't like the chopped nuts, the extra chopped peanuts. I especially like that. You might want to try something else, but here we are. And now we're going to cut, not cut completely, but we're going to turn the camera over to me, because John's going to be the one to taste these, because these are his favorite cookies. And here's John. These are his favorite cookies, and he's going to sample them for us. John could live off these. These are his favorite cookies.
This is why they don't last long in the freezer.
No, they don't last long in the house at all.
Nope.
Okay. Well, I want to say thank you to John for helping me. John is my fiance, and he does a lot for me, and he's quite a messy eater, as you can see. He's all man. Do you have anything to say for yourself, young man? Okay. Thank you, folks, for watching this video. We hope that you enjoy this cookie recipe, and we hope that you will hit the like button and subscribe. Have a good afternoon.